Okay, so it's a short presentation of key Weberian views of social inequality. So this relates to social inequality overall. So the Weberian view, Max Weber, 19th century, one of the key founding thinkers of sociology. So he looks at several factors which goes beyond traditional Marxist analysis and is more multi-dimensional. Okay, so he looks at the economic factors of property and wealth as most important. So he's described as the ghost of Marx because he shares the emphasis on wealth, economic relationships based on property, ownership and non-ownership as most important. He also, however, looks at the labour market, position in the job market, one's work conditions, status based on qualifications and the value of your skills, and therefore your earning power and income. He considers that important as well. This leads to a more multi-dimensional view of the class system because he can explain the growth of the middle class through the growth of education qualifications. It also explains why the middle class has grown, so we'll look at that further when we look at social class. He also looks at the factors of status and party. So social status refers to social standing, social position, rank and prestige. But Weber doesn't just include economic factors of property and income. He also includes the social and cultural and political factors which affect status. So he looks at social groups in terms of class, but also age, gender and ethnicity. He also looks at social institutions like the state, education, family and work. He sees social group status as having an impact on your status. So for example, coming from an ethnic minority background might affect your status in the labour market and in terms of wealth as a separate factor which is independent from economic ownership. So the difference between Marxism and Weberianism is the different extent to which they emphasise economic ownership and foreground that, compared to the other factors as independent or separate from or autonomous in shaping life chances. In looking at the institutions, he says that the institutions have autonomy. So that means that they are on their own, they're separate from the economic system, or they may be separate from the economic system. So for example, the state is autonomous. It doesn't always serve the interests of the upper class. It makes its own decisions. Political factors and party. So Weber is referring to interest groups, groups which work for the benefit of or interests of social groups, like in terms of class, occupational groups like barristers, the law society, age, the youth council, gender, obviously feminists, a social movement, political movement, ethnicity, the British Muslim Council is, faith is linked to ethnicity there. And so those groups are representing the interests of particular groups. Doctors, represented by the British Medical Council. So these groups are linked in with influence and power. And it depends on the way in which power is expressed. So politics is the expression or mode of power. So in the UK, it's political democracy, based on votes and the people's decisions. So that's on the surface what it appears to be. Also, cultural factors looks at norms and values and lifestyle. And that can be a factor in social class and other groups, age, gender, ethnicity, which can also explain life chances, differences. So it's a multi-dimensional view. It goes beyond the Marxist view, which can be seen as economically deterministic or reductionistic, and it gives a more multi-dimensional view, which is perhaps one of the best for explaining the more complex and fragmented nature of social life today. It can be criticised as offering a trivial labour market analysis, which fails to understand the fuller picture in terms of the wider economic divisions And Marxists would argue that this, underplays the divisions between owners and non-owners. So I hope that's been useful. Email daniel_butcher@hotmail.co.uk.